I'm Steve. I'm originally from Preston, the UK.
I'm Dianne.
We moved to Australia in 2018 with our 2 kids.
And we appeared on Wanted Down Under in 2019 and 2021.
And we are Britstralians.
They might have moved 9,000 miles across the world with their kids Briar and Peyton, but there's some things that will just never change.
We still watch our Brit telly, we still watch Corrie and things like that. So, I can't say we watch any less. It's just nice to go, look at that weather, I don't miss that.
It's been a couple of years since the Hargreaves family appeared on UK TV to investigate a new life in Perth. And now here they are to share the tale of their Australian dream. What made you think about moving to Australia in the first place?
So it stems from years and years ago when I was younger. My mum's sister moved out here as a £10 pom in, when would I was 2, so it would have been in 76. So we holidayed in Australia 2 or 3 times when I were at school age, and just fell in love with it straight away. Just always really loved Australia, really fancied everything about it. It just stems from there.
So what made you decide to go on the show?
We came out for a holiday. It was the first time that me and the kids had been. And I was like, right, I want to go and do all the sites. If I hate it, I'm never going back. So we came over and we had a 3-4 week holiday. And we went over to Sydney because I wanted to see the Harbour Bridge. I wanted to do it. So we took the kids to Taronga Zoo. We did all that. And then Steve was like, well, I want to go and see my auntie as well if we're going all that way. So we came over to Perth as well for 2 weeks. And he literally got off the plane and went, oh, gosh, he said, I'm just at home and that's it. And I was like, okay. And we actually got back and it was actually somebody at Steve's work that said jokingly, oh, you two want to go on that programme, Wanted Down Under. And lo and behold, that night, was it something on Facebook or something advertising for applicants to go on the show? So we just kind of...
It was just jokingly, weren't it?
We just jokingly applied sort of the day before the application shut. And then that was sort of September, October time, wasn't it, that?
Yes.
And we got a phone call, we got an email from the production team saying we were down to the last 100 families. And then we got another email saying they wanted to do like a Skype interview to see whether we got through to the last 25. Well, we were all sat at home. Poor Bri was only young then, and we started talking about her best friend who lived across the road from us in the UK, and she got really upset about it. And Peyton was 2-ish.
He was only young and he was jumping around.
And he was jumping all over us, and he was a very chatterboxy child and never shut up, so we sort of couldn't get a word in nice ways. And we came off the Skype interview and I just looked at Steve and just said, that just couldn't have gone any worse if we'd have tried. Basically, we just put it to the back of our minds and thought, that's it, nothing's going to happen. And I think it was a few days before Christmas that they said, oh, congratulations, you've been picked. Where do you want to go? And when do you want to go? And it was like, whoa, that's kind of how it all happened.
And what's it like being on TV, watching yourself back?
It's something I'm really glad we did, but no, I hated every minute of it being on camera. Yeah.
It is hard work. Everyone goes, oh my gosh, yeah, free holiday, they pay for your flights, accommodation. But it's not, it's 14-hour days. You've got to be at certain places for certain times, and obviously they take 3 or 4 shots, and if there's noise in the background they've got to re-record that bit, and so it is a long day. I mean, we went to view houses and you spend like 3 or 4 hours at each house because they're going, oh, we just want to take this shot from this angle, so can you just walk through this way and don't look in this room. And
in every room is 3 or 4 takes minimum.
And then you'll just say something like quickly off the top of the head and go, oh my gosh, yeah, that's amazing. Just go back and say that as you come in. And it's really, it is full on. It's not an easy. And
you've got to look surprised every time you walk into the room that you've never you've never seen it before.
You've never seen this house before in this room, and you've got to be like, whoa, this is amazing. Or oh no, not keen on this bit. And
so you became good actors.
Yes. yeah. It is hard. And we were setting off at 7 a.m. to get to places, and yeah, it is a freebie in the sense that they pay for you to get here, but you have to work when you get here. It's not a freebie. You literally, they're there at the airport when you walk out the door. they're in your face as soon as you walk out, and you're like, oh my gosh, I've just been on a 24-hour flight, and I don't really want somebody in my face at that. We must have walked around the airport for an hour, going in and out the doors just so they could get the shot right, wasn't it? And, you know, can you just go back in again and just walk back out? And it's like
security asking what we're doing.
Yeah, we must have thought like stalking us. Security came over and said, what are you doing? And we're like, oops, sorry.
Wow, you just don't think of any of those things, do you?
No, you don't.
They are literally waiting. As soon as you get your bags, they are waiting for you as soon as you come out the doors on the airport. So you literally get one day to yourself in the whole week. So you get like the day after you arrive. But obviously you've got your shopping, you know, you've got to go and buy food and you're getting unpacked and you're jet lagged. And so you really don't appreciate that day anyway because you're so tired. So that day was a null and void day really for us, wasn't it? And we just didn't really do anything. And then Monday we were like really into it and that's it, you're off and you're going. And it is a full 5 days. It is not a holiday. It really isn't.
So it was just a week that you were here?
With the show, they bring you over for a week for 7 days. Obviously, the first and last day are travelling, so you're only really here for 5 days, and that's 5 days of filming. So they pay for your flights over and our accommodation and car hire for that week. And then they give you the option of arranging your flights back. It's like an open-ended ticket, so you can fly back whenever you want, from wherever you want. They sort of applied for everything. They applied for the schools. And you don't realise, but they also have to apply to the courts to be able to take the child out of the country because they're filming.
It's not straightforward as everybody thinks, that you just come here and they start filming you, because it's not like that, particularly where children are involved.
We even found that filming in the UK as well, even just filming all day, just around the house and talking. But after they'd gone that night, at 7 o'clock or so, we just sat down and I've never been so tired in my life.
A lot of what goes on behind the scenes isn't shown. You know, because people that have seen the BBC So Bright get upset at the end of the programme because she was missing her family, she misses her friends, but obviously the bit that was cut out before was where we were talking about, sadly, Steve's dad had passed away and that she missed him and she was so sad that he's not going to get to see us here and that Gran and Grandpa had the flights cancelled so close to him coming and one thing and another. So all that was missed out and it just showed her crying at the end of the programme, which if they'd have seen the build-up, they'd have understood why. So we got lots of messages saying, I hope she settles and all this lot. She is settled here. She loves her life here, but she does miss her family and her friends. And
of course,
for a child of her age, she was 9 when she came and it was really hard. It was hard for her. You know, if we left it much longer, I don't think she'd have really wanted to come, would she? No,
it was the right age to bring them, yeah.
How old was she when she came over?
She was 9 and Peyton was 4. So he just run 100 miles an hour with the life here. He's just, typical as a kid, no shoes. He loves the life. He doesn't really know any different. He doesn't really remember much about the UK. He knows that grandparents live there and he doesn't really remember how our house were or anything like that. So to him, this is his life and this is how it's always been. Bray's a little bit more of a sensitive soul and she had a lovely little group of friends in the UK. She struggled here getting a bond again with... She's gone to high school now, so I think she's starting to get that bond again now. She's got some really lovely friends and, you know, she's starting to embrace life a little bit more. And obviously it's a big change for her. Obviously school ages are different here, so she kind of took a step backwards and went back a little bit in terms of age group. She kind of struggled a little bit because she found the work a bit too easy at school. So she's actually only done 2 years in primary school since she's been here, and now she's gone to high school. And you know, she's really settled in. She's doing us amazingly proud. She's really settling in and finding her feet now.
Brilliant. And is the school system quite different over here? Would you say?
I'd say they're a lot more modern, but that may be just because we're living in a upcoming area. Everything's new in where we're living. They certainly don't lack anything, do they?
No.
No. And the high school definitely has really good facilities. It's like a university.
It's brilliant, the high school. I mean, she's doing kickboxing, something she would never be able to do at school in the UK. She's doing rock band. That's something she probably would never have the opportunity in the UK to have done either. Just the facilities at the school, we seem to think, well, from my perspective as a mum, I seem to think that kids are allowed to be kids longer here. It's just totally changed for us. And we're at the beach or we're at the park or we're having a barbecue.
So it's more laid back and more chilled out.
So actually, you just mentioned about the facilities in the school. And I was going to ask you about your house. What's your house like?
Oh, it's amazing.
We're pretty spoilt, really. We couldn't have back in the UK. We couldn't have what we do here.
When we first built the house, I think Steve actually worked it out and sort of, because we had like a traditional semi in the UK with obviously upstairs, downstairs. I think Steve worked out like the floor plan. He thought if you took the upstairs and the downstairs and put them together, they would actually fit under our alfresco area. So our house is like 3 times the size.
You designed the house, did you? Because you bought land.
Yes, we bought land after 2 weeks.
It wasn't our intention.
It wasn't our intentions, but somebody showed us this piece of land.
Over here, like it's dead normal to build your home, isn't it? It's just the norm.
It's so different. Yeah, we just didn't know where to start. When we were looking to build a house, we bought a new house in the UK as well. But over there, you go to, you find an estate where you want to live, and all the houses are built by one home builder, and you just pick
your house style.
You just pick your house, which house you want it, and that's it. Over here, you buy your land separate to the house. There's hundreds of home builders. They all have hundreds of different like basic plans, and then somehow you try and narrow it down to pick your house that you like, and then you start customizing it after that, and you literally pick every single detail down to the plug sockets.
You pick the colour of your bricks over here. In the UK, your house is built and that's it. That it's
what style of colour gutter you want.
Yeah.
Absolutely every single detail. It took
colour
us
of your
days.
window frames, and it took us months, didn't it, to decide on a style.
You totally customise everything. It's it's very different. We didn't know where to start. Everybody we speak to that have moved over, they've come without plans, without anything in place, and things just tend to fall into place.
Yeah,
I don't know how, but they do, don't they? And they have for us, and they have for pretty much everybody else we've spoken to as well.
Going back to the land, we arrived on the Thursday into the Airbnb we stayed in after we filmed We Want to Dine Under, and just as luck happened, we sort of stumbled on our rental as well around the same time. We loved the estate we were living on at the time with the rental, and we saw this piece of land for sale. And we went and inquired about it, and they went, "Oh, you've just missed it by a day." And then lo and behold, there was a bigger lot that came up on the sister estate. We went to see that, and then we were like, wow, we're not going to get a piece of land this big for this price again.
So we just decided to push the budget a little bit.
Bit the bullet and signed up. We were like, yeah, that's it. We've got to stay now.
And you do still feel like that? Yes. You do still feel this is home for you?
This is home, yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
Oh, fab.
Definitely home, yeah.
I often think, it's still, weekends still feel like a holiday sometimes.
Yes.
They really do. It's just...
Why is that? What do you mean by that?
It's just got to be the weather. Yeah, it's just got to be the weather, and then just being able to go outside, just do, even just wandering across the road to the park or down to the beach, it's just...
Yeah.
You can just do it whenever you feel like it.
And are you close to the beach?
Yeah.
About 5 minutes drive from the beach, yeah.
We can see it from the end of the street, yeah.
Yeah, we can actually see it, yeah. The kids' school, the primary school that they both were in, is a kilometre from the beach. They go for 6 weeks of beach safe lessons with the school, where they actually get taken down to the beach. They actually get taught by the surf lifesavers how to read rips, how to be safe if they go swimming in the sea, what to do if somebody gets stung by a blue bottle.
Dianne, on the show, you were undecided about moving to Australia at first.
Yes.
But then in the end, you all chose Australia.
We did.
What changed your mind?
Obviously, people that have seen the first show will know that just before we came out, Steve's dad sadly got a terminal diagnosis a couple of weeks before we flew, which obviously for us as a family we kind of found difficult. But he told we weren't going to actually come and do the show. We were going to cancel it all, and he was like, no, go and do it. Just live your life and do everything you want to do. And it kind of, I don't know, it was kind of like...
So put things back into perspective, I suppose, isn't it?
It was really difficult because obviously people saw the first show knew that I'd had cancer when I was 28, and that kind of put everything in sort of in a different lifestyle perspective for us too, didn't it? At the time, well, not even at the time, sort of going forward in our lives, didn't it? And we were like, well, we'll not go because we want to be here with you. My two were the only grandchildren at the time, and it was a really difficult decision to come out, and it was quite emotional for us too, I think, at that time, because everything was so new with his dad being so ill, and I think it kind of kept repercussioning that if we bring the kids here, this, he's going to not see them again. And I think that's kind of was weighing on my mind a little bit, and that you needed to be there with your family, and have, treasure those last days and what have you. And I think that was kind of weighing on my mind quite a lot all through the programme. But from obviously, when they did the sums, the financial point of view, the houses were just, the cost of living, we could afford to live here. It was just...
Yeah. And it was also the last chance we were going to get to be able to come as well because of our ages and things. So we're sort of right in the limits of the age limit, weren't we?
I think right up until turning that card, I didn't know which way I was going to go. Seriously, I was like, what do I do?
Our initial plans were to maybe to move 10, 15 years earlier, weren't they? And that would have been a no-brainer. That would have been 100%. We would have gone then, wouldn't we?
We'd been married about 3 years, hadn't we? And we were like, Steve was like, should we just go and try it? It's just us two. Let's just go and try it. And we did sign, Steve started looking into it. We did put wheels in motion to, you contacted a few visa agents and one thing. And then obviously I got my diagnosis and wow, everything stopped. Well, it had to stop, didn't it? Because we didn't know what was going to happen. And it kind of went on a back burner for quite a number of years, didn't it? And then Steve's job sort of changed in hours and he was doing shifts. Briar was at the age where she started noticing Daddy wasn't quite around as much as he had been. And it was getting to the point where we used to sort of ring you at night to say night, and she was getting so upset that Steve was just like, I need to do something. Something needs to change here, big style. And there wasn't really the opportunity in your job to be able to change the lifestyle at that time, was there? No. So he kind of thought, why don't we try Australia again? And it kind of set, and I was like, do we, don't we? And I said, look, just start looking into it, do what you want. And then obviously by this stage, a lot of things had changed with the visas. And to get Steve in, because we've come on Steve's job, he had to do a degree. So good for him. I cannot fault him whatsoever. I champion him all the time that he was working full-time shifts. He was doing online studying for a degree as well. And in all of that, as a surprise, we ended up with Peyton as well. It was a busy few years, but, champion to Steve, he was coming home from work at 11:30 at night and sitting up till 3 and 4 in the morning doing his dissertations for his degree. And he got us through, got his degree.
Well done. That's amazing.
He got us his, so I couldn't really say no to him in the end after all that, could I?
Oh, wow. So actually, by the sounds of things, you've planned this for ages. Like, this is
on and off for a long time. Yeah, but for different reasons. Yeah.
Well done. Yeah. Yeah, you made it happen.
Eventually. It took a long, it's like I say, it took us 15 years.
It's been a long journey. Yeah.
Has it been worth it?
Oh, yes. 100%.
Yeah, definitely.
Oh, definitely. Yeah,
so,
best thing ever.
So for people who are at home who are like, thinking about coming out and they might have to go and do some more study or whatever, what advice would you have?
Yeah, just go for it. Don't think about it. Just go for it. Yeah.
If it's something you really, really want to do, you have to work at it, and you have to put the effort in to get the rewards out. So just
we
do
always
whatever
said
you have to do.
If we didn't move, then we'd have always thought, what if? We'd have always it had always been in the back of our mind. What would have happened if we did go? At least if we go and try it and don't like it, we could go back.
Exactly. So tell me about your jobs. You've both had a bit of a career change, haven't you?
Yeah, a little bit. Yeah, I was always graphic design is what I did for 20 years, and then more recently it was a bit of marketing. But now, I've moved into a web design full time now, which is it's not a massive change. It's a little bit different, but it's a good enough change to really enjoy it.
Good, good. And what about yourself?
I started as a dental nurse when I was 16, and I qualified in the UK, and I did that till I was 24. And then I fell on my dream job in the local hospital on the cancer unit of all places. So I was in the NHS for 20 years till coming out here. So I had a total career change in the UK. And then I came here and it was a case of neither of us working. One of us had to get a job because you come over here and your savings, you might as well just chuck them in the sea, basically. Because everything's paying out cars, rent, furniture, whatever.
Yeah, it's expensive.
So basically Steve was applying for everything he saw and I just said, I'm just going to have to put myself out there as well. So I applied, must have been for about 250 jobs. And I sent out 40 begging letters to local area for doctors, dentists, any officey type people, maybe looking for admin. And I basically got an interview from one of the jobs in a dental practice. not really what I wanted to go back into, but a job's a job when you first get here. So I went in as a sort of reception type person to help build up the reception. Obviously, I had the nursing qualification, so I did a bit of nursing. And then I was there 6 months, got promoted to their manager.
It is hard to get your foot in the door when you first arrive. Being new, I think it is. We know Aussie experience. I think it is really difficult to find something. But, once you start putting yourself out there, it definitely is word of mouth.
On the show, it talked about like what you were earning back in the UK, and you were like trying to do the cost of living for over here. Are you the same, better? What's the situation?
I'm double.
What, you earn double?
I earned double, and I was in the NHS on a decent. I was at top of my band, and I was on a pretty good wage over there, and I earned double.
I'm earning slightly more, but less
You're
hours.
You're probably averaging roughly the same, aren't you? But you say you do work slightly less hours here.
I'm doing less hours, so the lifestyle, just enjoying the lifestyle.
You've got a better lifestyle balance at work.
Yeah.
His work-life balance is a lot better here. So
people going about the cost of living, saying it's really expensive. It's it scared us a little bit, didn't it?
If I can meet to death, I was like, oh my gosh, it's going to be.
It's not, and even what the show on the show isn't really a true representative, is it?
We actually spend less for the four of us here on food than we did in the UK.
And bills, do you not find bills are like less here, or do you think it's the same?
Yeah, it does work out where it probably is less. Council tax is less.
Yeah. And obviously, you don't have a lot of gas.
Exactly.
Here,
Central heating doesn't exist.
Yeah,
so you don't.
We have solar.
That helps with the electric, doesn't it? Because obviously we do have the pool and the hot tub as well.
Oh, of course.
So that helps massively.
Brilliant. Since you've been out here, have you been back home?
No.
No intentions of going back. We want them to come here really and see what we've got and what we've achieved. And so we want them all to come to us first, don't we?
Apart from family, then, there's nothing else that we're missing in the UK, are we? There's no pull to go back to the UK. Don't even really want to go back as a holiday.
It's going to be quite a number of years before
we will go back. Well, not yet.
No. That's the best way to do it, apparently, is to get settled here as well, is to not go back. I was told that.
Well, everybody told us that you find in the first 2 years that if you'll settle or not. So we're like 2.5 years now, and we're just like, this is it.
We're well settled, yeah.
And on the show, Briar said that friends will become our family.
Yes.
Was she right?
Yes, you do, because obviously, Steve does have family here, but they're not near us. So you've got to put yourself out there. Again, it's the same as jobs. You've got to put yourself out there to make friends. Nobody's going to come knocking on the door saying, please be my friend type of thing. We've made some really, really good friends here. And
there's a lot of us in the same position out here. There's a lot of Brits that have moved out here, especially in the area we live. There is a lot around there. And I'll say, we do stick together, don't we?
Yeah, you do, because you help each other through the tough times. And, somebody could be having a really bad day going, I just want to go home. And we're all there for each other. And there's certain ones that you really, really gel with, and they kind of become your adoptive family. My kids call two of them in particular auntie. They've kind of got that real strong bond, and but you do have to put yourself out there, and you have to make the effort.
And how do you put yourself out there? What do you do to make friends?
You just go to we found a lot of family
Facebook
events,
and then local events. There's so many family events going on around in the parks. You got food trucks in the evenings. There's
if you go to a
cinema
family
in the
event
parks
though as well, like the kids tend to get talking to other kids, and then you start get talking to. Obviously, if you've got school-age kids, there's my mums and dads at school. Bray plays soccer,
and clubs.
So there's like her soccer team parents as well, and so this is how you kind of get. But you have to put it out there. You have to put yourself out there, and you get an invite to a party for the kids or something. You've got to go to it. You can't just say, "Oh, I don't want to be bothered. I don't know them," because you're never going to meet anybody if you do that.
Do you miss anything from back home?
Nah.
Have you noticed in the schools, are there a lot of, because the area that you live in, like you said, there's quite a lot of Brits go up to the northern suburbs in Perth.
Yeah.
And at the school, are there a lot of children in the same boat whose parents are, or who have come over from a school in England?
Yeah. Briar's year had a sort of mixture of sort of Aussie kids and sort of English kids. Peyton's seems to have, obviously, because a lot is younger, the parents were probably already here by the time they had the child. So there's a lot more sort of Aussie kids, as I call them, in his year.
Yeah.
But there does seem to be a mixture of
not just from the UK though. There's kids from all over the world.
has someone from Norway in her class.
South Africa.
It's very varied, isn't it? So
everywhere. Yeah.
That's nice, though, I guess, for people back home who are thinking of coming out here. They've got kids and they're thinking, my child's going to be the only one that's foreign.
They're not.
It depends I suppose it depends a lot on the area that you're going to move to. But yeah.
Yeah, the area we're in, because it's quite up and coming and newish.
There'll
There's a lot of people.
Everybody's in the same position, yeah. Yeah, they're all trying to fit in, aren't you? They're all new. They're all finding the feet.
Yeah.
That's brilliant. I have literally run out of questions. I'm like, you two, honestly, I didn't need to ask you anything. You're just like, I'm just saying, like, okay.
We've had lots of practice from Wanted Down Under.
You are brilliant. Honestly, I honestly do feel really starstruck.
We're not famous.
I've watched you on the telly. I've cried with you.
Oh, no, yeah. No, we've had a couple of people recognise us out and about in IKEA, haven't we?
If you were talking to you 10 years ago, 5 years ago, what would you say to yourselves?
If you're given the opportunity, just grab it with both hands. And if you've got to retrain, really, really consider it. Obviously, the visas do change really, really quickly. And if it's something you've set your heart on, you have to work hard to do it.
Yeah,
it's a lot more difficult now to get a visa than it was when we moved out, or when we got our visa 4 or 5 years ago. And it's getting tougher all the time. If you can do it sooner rather than later, then yeah, I'd go for it.
Obviously, because we've been there and we've done it, and you see people, I know, and some people are really nasty on Facebook. Like, somebody asks a question, and yeah, you may think it's absolutely stupid and daft and whatever, but to that person that's asking it, it's not.
No.
It's a genuine question, and just a bit of kindness, just to say, look, really speak. Nobody can answer that question for you. Just speak to an agent; they'd give free advice. Or speak to somebody that is in the know more, because you're going to get so many random answers on Facebook, because everybody's experience is different, everybody's journey is totally different, and one size isn't to fit all.
Definitely.
So everybody's journey is totally different. Job wise, it's different. There's a lot of people that come out on temporary visas, and one thing and another. So. Yeah, it's just, there are just some nasty people out there that just go, oh, why didn't you Google it? And, that's not the answer the person's looking for. They probably have Googled it and not be able to find the answer. And in that moment, they just want to get down what they want to ask. And
yeah, because you can Google something and you can get 4 different answers.
Exactly. Or you just don't get the answer. You don't get any definite information. It's very vague. But yeah, everybody's journey is different. So, and the only advice I would say was make sure you go to a MARA agent, because we have seen people get stung by visa agents.
MARA meaning
Migration Agent Registration Authority or something. Yeah, because obviously they're regulated, and we've seen people that have been done out of thousands of pounds by a so-called agent.
Oh dear.
That hasn't done what they've said, and they're not MARA registered or anything like that. So
goodness me, that's
the advice is to make sure the MARA, make sure you're going with somebody decent and you check out that they're MARA registered. And from our point of view, it's money well spent.
Yep.
Definitely.
Just to make sure you get everything right, because we'd have never thought about half the things that we were asked to
unless
supply.
You've got a really straightforward case.
Yeah.
Then I would use an agent, definitely.
Yeah.
I know it's a lot of money when we pay quite a bit. It's thousands,
it's a couple of £1,000.
But from our point of view, it was worth the extra couple of £1,000 to get us here.
It's been really nice talking to you both. Thank you so much.
Thank you for having us.
Thank you for making us feel so welcome.
It's lovely.